this happens, and what I mean is the spring and the ability to have these controlled environments, that sort of has taken a backseat now. And as I mentioned, the training wheels are off, and it's go time, and everybody sort of adopts that mindset today.
So Tim Anderson steps in, the very fine shortstop for the White Sox, and we're set for baseball. From Mesa is Frankie Montas kicks and deals in the first pitch just a touch outside, and man, does it feel good to be announcing a big league baseball game.
We're back. It does.
So Anderson, Vaughn, and Abreu, the first three hitters in this White Sox lineup. Frankie Montas, 28 years old. In fact, Frankie's got a birthday coming up. He'll be 29 next Sunday. Suffered with that positive COVID test right at the beginning of spring training, so he maybe got a little bit of a late start, but at this point where he's at now, doesn't sound like he's behind at all as far as getting ready for the regular season.
And that's a big factor for Frankie. We talk about him trying to come into the season and make an impression or continue to build on what we already know is in that gas tank. And the first thing when you show up to spring is you want to have your feet underneath you. I mean, you want to feel good. So for him to have to clear that hurdle as early as he did and find himself on the mound today, that's a big plus.
Little pop-up. Olsen hustling over, but it'll drop foul territory. See fans in the stands. That is a beautiful sight as well down at Holcomb. It's A's being allowed to have a little less than 2,000 in the ballpark for each game, and boy, is that nice to see.
Oh, and you know the fans there are taking advantage. Yes, they are.
And wearing their masks, which is a good thing.
Good to see.
Nasty pitch. Anderson strikes out, and that's how we open up the ball game, and that looked like the Frankie Montas splitter.
Well, I tell you what, Kipe, I mean, that action probably has you scratching your head. But I'm not sure if this wasn't a boring down 97-plus mile-an-hour fastball. And what we've seen from Frankie here early on, some quality angle on that heater coming into the strike zone. You saw that foul ball, Tim Anderson sort of sprayed off to the right side.
Well, that was, whatever it was, that was nasty movement.
Well, it is exploding out of the hand of Frankie Montas right now, and that is something to be very excited about.
And this is Andrew Vaughn. Very high draft pick of the White Sox just a couple of years ago from University of California. In fact, he was the third pick in the draft just a couple of years ago, and he's got a shot to make this ball club this year.
Well, just another youngster in this lineup or in this organization right now near the top. It's chock full of talent.
2019 draft. Vaughn went third. Elvis Andrus. Boy, we were so used to seeing Elvis in that Rangers uniform make plays like that. It's a bit strange to see him in an A's uniform, but we're glad he is in an A's uniform. He's a very, very good player, and he has been for a long time.
I can tell you from firsthand experience, we are in great hands with Elvis Andrus, not only manning the sixth hole, manning the shortstop position, going to give you some competitive at-bats as well. And you're right, very odd to see him not in that Ranger red, white, and blue.
And odd to not see Marcus Semien in the green and gold, but we wish Marcus the best of luck with the Toronto Blue Jays. We know that he will do a good job, and I believe he's going to play second base for the Blue Jays.
Well, I can tell you, just from talking to some of the guys on that Blue Jays team, he is already making an impact not only on the field but in that clubhouse as well. It's something we all knew was going to happen.
0-1 to the American League MVP last year, Jose Abreu.
Right now, what we're seeing out of Frankie Montas is get it and go. It must have been hungry because he is letting it eat right now early on. We don't have some of those radar readings, but I promise you that fastball's north of 95 with an extra gear and some late life in the zone.
He's got a quick 0-2 to Abreu. That one bounced slowly. Andrus waits. Got plenty of time, and that'll do it. So a nice inning for Frankie Montas. 3 up, 3 down with a strikeout. A's come to bat when we come back. Lead him up. Can't out left field. Jed Lowry's at second base. Good to see Jed back on green and gold. We come back. Matt Olson having a big spring. Matt Chapman's at third. Mitch Moreland, the new designated hitter for the A's. Then it's Piscotty in right. Elvis Andrus at short. Buddy Reed is in center. And Travis Garcia is your catcher.
They're going to be taking on the burly right-hander Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn in his final year of that 3-year, $30 million piece from the Chicago White Sox, making his third start of this spring. I tell you, Lance Lynn has done exactly for the White Sox what they had expected him to do. He's come over, he's competed, he's eaten the innings, done a phenomenal job helping out this young rotation.
0-1 to Mark Canha. And Lance Lynn came over to trade from the Rangers, and White Sox gave up a couple of young pitchers, Dane Dunning and Avery Weems. Dunning may be in the Rangers rotation this year, but all in all, the White Sox needed one more quality starter, and they certainly got one, because Lynn is good. He is good. He's a big guy. 33 years old in his 10th year. Career record of 104 and 71. That's good.
He's a competitor. Yeah. I mean, there's no question about it. I actually had the opportunity to sit down and talk to Lance a couple weeks ago, and I was just kind of poking and prodding him a little bit, about the White Sox and the pinstripes. And he had been in pinstripes before, and I told him, so Lance, those pinstripes, awfully slimming, huh? And just kind of poking at him, because he has gone through an evolution of sorts physically at times where he has slimmed down, and now he's sort of back to the Lance Lynn of old, and he had no problem saying, Dallas, let me tell you what, mass equals gas.
Well, can't argue that with him. So the White Sox, with high aspirations for this year, went out and got Lance Lynn. Jed Lowry, it's like he never left. Hit next, followed by Olson here in the first. Canha gets jammed a little bit, a little pop-up toward the right fielder. That's Nick Williams who makes the catch. Let's take a look at the rest of the White Sox defense. You saw Williams. Eloy Jimenez is out in left field. Adam Engel in center, and then Williams in right. Moncada, Anderson, Mendick, and Abreu around the infield with Zach Collins doing the catching. So most of the regulars for the White Sox. How about the White Sox new manager? You ever heard of him? Yes, we have. That's Tony La Russa taking over for the White Sox. So we wish Tony the best of luck in his new gig with Chicago. Lowry jumps on the first pitch and drives to right center field. Hit well, but comes up just a touch short as Engel gets back to make the catch.
Well, it's good to see from Jed Lowry. Talk about a guy who's missed some time over the last few years, haven't been able to get on the field, some health reasons. Back here in Oakland with his feet underneath and flashing a little bit of the pop, and that's going to tell you maybe that lower half is working its way back to a clean bill of health, able to get on that backside and drive the baseball.
If you get a healthy Jed Lowry, boy, how much does that help your lineup?
And Kipe, it's really not even just about the health, knowing Jed and knowing what kind of impact he has in that clubhouse, because a lot of those guys will tell you, it's just about the way Jed exists in the clubhouse. It's a conversation here about a mechanical approach in the cage, or a conversation there in the dugout about what the pitcher was trying to do to a hitter. And having Jed as that sounding board has been so valuable for this young group as we've watched them sort of come into their own. Jed has been a big part of that.
Matt Olson having a very nice spring. That's a good look at Jed. Start with Jed Lowry. The thing that I was always most impressed with is it seemed like every at-bat, whatever happened, he put a good at-bat together.
No doubt.
Right? And he's kind of a grinder when he gets in the box.
And that word, that is so descriptive of a guy who's not giving away a single pitch. You hear guys talk about giving away an at-bat here, and we're talking about a pitch-to-pitch focus. for Jed Lowry.
Three and two now to Matt Olson. Olson now 27 years old. He's got a birthday coming up a little bit later on in the month of March. Kind of a strange year for Olson last year, because I know he said when spring training started, hey, I did not have a good year last year. And you're going to look at his batting average, which says 195. But he was still a run producer. Right? 14 homers, 42 RBIs. The RBIs were 10th in the league. So even though the batting average wasn't where he wanted, and strikeout total probably wasn't where he wanted, still producing runs. And that is his job.
Well, and the idea is coming up in certain situations where the opportunity to capitalize is there. And more times than not, maybe Matt Olson was able to do that in big situations, run-scoring opportunities. And sure, you'd like to see a little bit better production, no doubt. He was the first one to tell us all what we already knew. But to know that he still had that in him, that gives you a great start to build on this year when you're putting that in your rearview mirror.
Another 3-2. Lynn to Olson. And a 3-2 breaking ball.
And I'll say this about Olson, there's a bunch of guys across the league that this could be said for, but he was one of the first individuals I just circled and said 2020 did not count. And he's a guy who puts in a lot of work. He's a guy who gets in a routine. And maybe the inability to ever get comfortable can kind of affect guys. I think that might have been the case for Matty.
And a swing and a miss. So Lynn with a high fastball. And Lance Lynn has a 3-up, 3-down. First inning, no score after one.
59, just north of 59K. Just for one of them little Bitcoins. Boom. Sweet.
I like it. Line drive and a base hit center field by Yohan Moncada. So the White Sox have the first base runner in the game, and it's a single by Moncada.
Well, Moncada's a guy that's been floated around at the top of the lineup at times. Double leadoff action, but here, first batter of the inning. We talked about Montas pumping fastballs, comfortable with the heater coming out of the hand. Moncada's able to jump on one at the top of the zone and get the party started.
Here's Eloy Jimenez. Big, strong left fielder for the White Sox. White Sox are loaded with young, talented players. I think they're going to be good for a while. Hard to imagine that they won't be. They had the good year last year, 35 and 25. All this young talent. And they went out and got Lance Lynn, Adam Eaton, and our old friend Liam Hendriks. That's pretty good 3 additions when you already have a very, very good team. So I think the White Sox are going to be around for a while as far as postseason.
Well, and it was one of those clubs where maybe not a ton of noise in terms of volume of moves, but when you think about the quality of moves,
yeah,
right?
That's exactly right. They didn't need a lot.
They didn't need a lot. You're right. So they went out and got themselves a stopper in Liam Hendriks. Then they add the Stallion.
Off the end of the bat, a line shot. Reed grabs it. So that one had a little knuckling action on it, but Reed grabs it. So that is out number 1 here in the second inning.
Yeah, this is not an easy ball to track because this ball was stumped. And this thing has got a little Wakefield action all the way out to Buddy Reed in center. 2 hands, corral that thing.
So that is out number 1. Buddy Reed in center field today.
Love to see what we're seeing right now out of Buddy Reed. Young fella out there, the quarterback of the outfield, but he's talking about what sort of angles you're going to take. Foul ball here, coming off the bat here, wind blowing. Just that sort of communication from a young guy you like to see, because at times maybe it's a level of comfort that doesn't exist, that doesn't allow a guy to be vocal. And right here, these are the reps that matter, that allow you to get comfortable in how you're approaching the game and with teammates.
This is the catcher, Zach Collins. There's the White Sox regular catcher, Yasmani Grandal. Very good veteran catcher. Collins in there today. Adam Engel will be next. We should have one final thought, though, on Liam Hendriks. We should say hello. He could be watching the game today. And he's one of our favorites, so we want to say hello to Liam and wish him the best of luck.
That's right. And I believe he would agree with my statement that I made about Lance Lynn, about mass equaling gas. And because I feel like he's another guy that's got some in the tank.
Yes, he does. That one is flared just over the head of a leaping Elvis Andrus, and that's a hit for Collins. 2-on-1.
Not afraid to admit the bias in place, but I'm also asking folks just to think about the responsibility asked of Liam Hendriks specifically in that closer's role. Multiple times, 4+ outings for him, like just an absolute stopper in every sense of the word.
Adam Engel, the center fielder, trying to get the White Sox on the board, but he falls behind 0-2 to Frankie Montas. Montas, 21 pitches. As we said at the beginning of our show, we were told that Frankie's going to throw somewhere between 30 and 40 today.
And again, the biggest thing, even though we're at a point in time, spring training, 9 innings mandated, if you find yourself in a tough spot here, and you're not able to work through this for whatever reason, there would be times where you can, what we call pin out. You get your ups and downs in and go off to the side and throw some more pitches.
So a big strikeout as Engel chases the pitch down and away, and that is the second strikeout.
Well, we've got a good look at the fastball from Frankie today. And once you get a handle on that, you start to spin some extracurriculars, and that's exactly what Engel got here. Good slider down and away.
So 2 away, Nick Williams, the right fielder. Right field when the regular season comes will belong to Adam Eaton.
Little spanky. It's going to help out that outfield. You've got Eloy Jimenez in left. Robert, the 12-tool player in center.
Yeah, there's... Take those two guys right there.
Sure.
Throw Eaton in right. 1-0 to Williams with Danny Mendick, the second baseman, hoping to hit this inning. Montas hoping to head back to the dugout. Good pitch, drops in first strike. 1-1 the count.
We saw the pitch before. Frankie kind of flashed that smile. Similar pitch, similar location, didn't get the call, but you love to see him go back to that same pitch, back to the well, because typically in your mind you're telling yourself, if I miss there, this second one here is going to be a little bit better. I can throw a better one. And that was what happened.
In the air, left field. Canna's back. Canna grabs it. Surgery last year for Matt Chapman knocked him out on the 12th of September. And we didn't really hear a lot about the hip injury, and all of a sudden, boom, he's done, which tells you that that was something that was bothering him probably for a long time.
For a very long time. And that's such a great point, Kai, because typically that stuff doesn't come just out of nowhere. You're trying to patchwork things together, trying to make it okay for him to get out there and be as good as he possibly can be without really putting himself in jeopardy. And unfortunately, as athletes, you have that mindset, and Chappie's no different. You probably got to be guarded from yourself at times. So to see him come back and make the play that he made, first play back, dives towards the line, pops up, makes a strong throw. It just kind of, he's back.
And none of us were really. So I would guess that he's a happy young man.
No question.
His health back. Chapman now 27 years old. He'll turn 28 on the 28th of April. So he has a birthday coming up.
And I can promise you one of the toughest things for Chappie was to not be on the field, watching his teammates, being a part of what he was a part of creating early on.
3-2 now to Chapman. Mitch Moreland will follow, and then Stephen Piscotty.
This is a heck of a bat by Chappie here, watching him spit on a couple balls just outside. See Lance Lynn trying to take him out of the zone a little bit at a time, and Chapman's done a tremendous job of just spitting on it.
Spoils a good pitch there. Lynn kept it down and away. And the count remains 2.
And the thing with Lance Lynn is you got a fastball coming, but it could end up going about 6 different directions depending on how he wants to sink it or cut it, or if he wants to ride it.
Came right at him with a fastball, and he gets his 2nd consecutive strikeout.
And that's kind of what we're talking about. Just going to put a little bit of a wrinkle on it. Middle. Let's see how far. And again, just that slight manipulation of the baseball can make him unpredictable in terms of which way that ball is going to head, and by that time the decision-making window is closed.
So 1 away, and here's the new designated hitter for the Athletics, Mitch Moreland. So Moreland signing a 1-year deal with the A's, taking over for Chris Davis. At least Moreland probably get most of the starts when a right-hander is on the mound.
Well, you just
good veteran hitter,
no doubt. And looking up and down the lineup, you got the big fella Ole there in bright red from the left side, and maybe not so much left-handed thump behind him. And now you plug in a guy like Mitch Moreland, and that's there.
I think too, with somebody like Matt Olson, who you know is going to play absolutely every day if he's healthy, it may be nice to be able to DH him every once in a while.
Sure.
And Moreland still a pretty good defensive first baseman as well. So on a day where Bob Melvin may say, hey, you know what? Let's get Olson off his feet, let him hit 4 times and DH. You can put Moreland at first, and he's not going to hurt you at all because he's still a well above average first baseman.
Bob Melvin has 2 Gold Glove first basemen. Let's not forget, Richie Dubsack has a Gold Glove. That's right. So there's going to be those times where, as you said, Bob would love to get Ole a breather, or a half a day, if you will, at least. And you plug in a Gold Glove caliber defender and Mitch Moreland over at first base, you really don't feel like you're missing much.
So 2 outs. Here's Stephen Piscotty. Piscotty last year, 226 batting average, 5 home runs, and he drops a base hit into center field here with 2 outs. So the A's hoping kind of a bounce back year for Stephen Piscotty as well. Again, I hate to say bounce back though, and I say that, Dallas, because what you said earlier about it's so hard to judge last year. Right. Not only because of the amount of games, only 60, but I'm with you. I think guys, and a lot of guys, never ever got into the flow.
No, and
ever.
And it's not an excuse that you want to make for anybody, because each and every one of these players, that it doesn't matter what uniform they're wearing, is going to tell you, I should have been better. That's just a competitor in these days.
Andrus on the first pitch bounces out, and that will do it for the A's. When we come back, the manager, Bob Melvin.
Rating, folks.
Buddy Reed. A lot of talk about this young man. Center field, switch hitter.
That's right. Juice from both sides. We've seen the leather on display as well.
He's had a big spring. If Frankie Montas wouldn't have been so good in the top of the 3rd, we would have asked the manager about Buddy Reed, but Frankie decided to have his best inning. He should know better. This is a spring training telecast.
We're all trying to get work in here, Frankie.
But yeah, Buddy Reed has been a good story. Frankie Montas, he's probably done for the afternoon. Moncada, and he's got just enough room shading his eyes for that high sky of Arizona.
All right, fans, the Oakland A's are ready to welcome fans back to the Oakland Coliseum. In cooperation with Alameda County and Major League Baseball, the A's will open with fans on April 1st. No fooling you here. Single game tickets go on sale Tuesday, March 23rd. A number of policies and protocols will be in place for the safety of everyone. And the A's look forward to welcoming back fans. That's right, you of the green and gold for the 2021 season.
You know, we did games last year with no fans in the stands, obviously. And you never thought that you would have to do that. So you never really thought what it would be like to do a Major League Baseball game in a Major League stadium with no fans. But it was even worse not having fans there than I even kind of imagined that it would be. And I think the players felt the same way. I think the players, as we did, we missed the fans even more than we thought we would.
Yeah, you want to feel what it's like as a player to play in front of no fans?
Oh.
Go get a baseball, go lock yourself in your broom closet, and throw the ball up and down. That's kind of what it felt like. You know, you'd like to catch it. You're motivated to catch it. But in the end, if nobody's watching, you play this game for a lot of reasons. One of the common denominators, though, is for the energy and the vibe that you're able to take from the fans and then ultimately give back to the fans via a performance. And there's that relationship that wasn't allowed to exist.
And all that stuff you just said from a player's perspective, you could almost say the same thing from what we do. Where you really rely on the fans to pump you up a little bit at certain times. And I never thought I would miss it as much as I did, or how much the fans kind of carry you when it's the bottom of the eighth or the bottom of the ninth and there's a tight game.
And if you're not, trust me, Kipe, I can't tell you. You think I didn't miss watching you take your shirt off and helicopter that thing around, get the fans going before the game like you do every day?
I can't wait to do it opening night. It's going to be great.
When you don't
I wouldn't know. Actually, great's probably not true. But we missed our fans. They're great, and they are going to be back on April 1st. We don't know how many. We don't have the capacity number. But, man, is it going to be great.
Well, it's more than last year, and that's all that matters.
It's definitely going to be more than last year. So that is a big, big deal. And not only do we feel that way, but the players even more so feel that way. So we're excited. Get your tickets. 3-2 to Erasmus Garcia trying to win the backup catcher's job for the Athletics. He takes strike 3 called on the inside corner. So a little paint job right there by Lance Lynn.
Yeah, it turned Garcia into a window shopper here. It looks like he might have cut that on the front hip just a bit. Fastball started to come back over the black just enough to get the call. And Erasmus Garcia had all but given up on it.
So here's Canha. Boy, interesting stuff from the manager, though, about Mark Canha in the leadoff spot. Sounds like, at this point anyways, we're halfway through spring training, he may be leaning that way toward Mark Canha being the leadoff hitter.
Well, if you can get the kind of at-bats that you typically get from Mark at the top of the lineup, you're thinking you're probably already 5 to 6 pitches or so into this starter's game with Mark Canha at the dish, and you're more than likely going to have yourself a base runner. And I think for a guy who had been told, look, I'm going to platoon you against lefties a while back, said, okay, let me just bludgeon right-handed pitching for a year and see what your thoughts are on that. He played himself into an everyday role, and now we're kicking around Mark Canha being a leadoff hitter in this lineup. And that right there kind of speaks to the progression that we've seen Mark go through as a hitter.
2-1 from Lance Lynn. At Canha last year, a .387 on base percentage. The year before that, the full year of 2019, a .396 on base percentage. And this is a guy who's got a lot of pop, so you're not just getting a guy who gets on base a lot. Now you're sort of getting the more modern day leadoff hitter, guy who does get on base but also hits the ball to the ballpark. Interesting thought, and I think Canha could be very good in that leadoff spot.
Well, and if a guy gets comfortable, that's the thing. If a guy gets comfortable, though he may not have been in that position before, that can see a guy take off.
Elvis Andrus could hit that leadoff spot, I guess, but Bob also mentioned having Jed Lowrie being able to hit in the second spot. Lowry's a guy who grinds at bats, as we said, so you lose Tommy La Stella, who may have been as good at grinding at bats as anybody, but these two guys, it's a lot of pressure on a starting pitcher with the first two guys you got to face in that lineup, trying to wear you down, and then you have Olson and Chapman coming up after that.
When you think about La Stella and what he meant to the lineup just by virtue of forcing the action on the defense. What did he punch out 12 times? 12 times as an Oakland. And that tells you, look, I'm putting this ball in play. I might be on base, but either way, I'm just not an out. I'm not an at-bat that you can chalk up if you're a pitcher looking for your breathing hole in that lineup. It wasn't Tommy La Stella. And that's what you would love to have as a characteristic as a leadoff hitter.
3-2 to Canna. Lynn misses badly outside, so there's the at-bat we're talking about. Couple foul balls, works to 3-2, and ends up getting a two-out walk, does Canna.
Jed Lowrie coming behind him in that two-hole. There's now a guy who, a few years ago, Jed Lowrie here with the Oakland A's, hit 1 million doubles. So you think 2 outs, guy on first base. Some loud noise. Cannon, pretty good athlete. Could be 1-0.
So here is Lowrie, who hit a deep fly ball to right center field his first at bat. Jed Lowrie, now 36 years old. He's had a very nice career. I think that stands out as the best years of his career happened in the uniform of the Oakland Athletics. I mean, his 2018 season was the best season of his career. And he was an all-star that year for the A's. But just looking at it, 267, but he had 23 homers, 99 RBIs, 37 doubles. He was sensational that year.
All over. All over. And again, it can't be overstated the impact that Jed has had just in regards to a technical approach at the plate for a lot of the guys, for the Chapmans, for the Olsons, for the Penders that we talk about learning themselves and learning the game at a different level. Those are guys that all came through together, collectively had success, and then you drop a guy like Jed Lowrie in their lap, and it's in higher education.
The downside for Lowrie is the last 2 years when he was with the Mets, he's played in a total of 9 games. So the upside to Lowrie is, if healthy, I think he can still hit and he can still play. But the concern is he healthy and can he stay healthy? Because playing just 9 games over a 2-year period, because you're hurt,
right,
at the age of 36, you're going to be a little concerned about that.
There's an old saying, a body at work stays at work, a body at rest stays at rest. And unfortunately, if you're not out there working daily, sometimes those other muscles that are used to being recruited and fired, and they start to take days off. But being as professional as Jed is, understanding the opportunity he had ahead of himself to get back here and be healthy and contribute, he's focused on doing so.
3-2, 2 outs, so Canna will be on the move. He goes, and Lowrie takes ball 4. So I think what you just saw from the last 2 at-bats, Canna and Lowrie, is exactly what we're talking about. Just real tough quality at-bats that can frustrate a pitcher, and you saw Lynn get a little frustrated because he thought, why'd you not chase that pitch?
Well, that's it.
Was it a strike?
Kicking some dirt, little exhale, conversation with the backstop. Hey, what do we got going on here? Nothing, buddy. You just got battled a couple times back-to-back. Let's get back in this thing. You got 2 outs, but you have no easy task here with Matt Olson. And to your point, think about a ball game starting out like that. 2 quality ABs, back-to-back, 1-2, and now you got the boppers coming.
So Olson struck out in the first inning. Olsen hitting in the 3rd spot. Chapman hitting in the 4th spot. There's a fastball for a strike. 1-1 the count. Jordan Weems getting loose. So it looks like he is the next pitcher we will see for the Athletics.
Some good solid flow going today. It's always a great hair day when you're Weems.
Yeah. Swing and a miss. So the fastball coming right at Olsen.
Well, if you're a guy like Lance Lynn, again, probably 3 or 4 different types of fastballs you like to employ. It's about getting a feel for what the ball's doing coming out of your hand, trying to locate maybe the cutter, as we saw earlier, front door to a Ramos Garcia. Just trying to get a feel for the finish and the release point.
Center field, playable. Engel looking up into the bright sky, and he makes the catch. Couple of 2-out walks, both stranded. That's Canna and Lowry. And we're on to the 4th inning, Weems.
That was something that A's fans might have done when they got the news that Liam Hendriks would not be returning. You understand how valuable the bullpen and that group has been to the Oakland A's in the past. And it's about guys continuing to step up as other guys might leave, take on different roles. But the success of a bullpen is always about younger guys or guys who haven't had a ton of responsibility stepping up and filling those voids and becoming accountable for high leverage outs.
1-1 the count to Abreu, Moncado, and Jimenez to follow. So a very challenging inning for Jordan Weems as he faces really the heart of this good White Sox lineup. And there's not a lot of spots in that A's bullpen, if any at all, that are really open.
Well, that's why if you're Weems right now and you're looking at yourself working your way through, kind of the meat and potatoes of this lineup here, getting a look at the AL MVP, you want to take advantage of these opportunities and show the skipper, hey, I am a guy that can get this job done right here, right now. I'll show you in spring, so you can let that phone ring come regular season.
That one's hit center field, and it's hit well. Reed to the wall, Reed at the wall. He leaps, and he caught it. The Buddy Reed show continues in the desert. Well, he had just enough time to get back and time his leap, and he timed it perfectly.
Well, he did everything right. Ball off the bat, loud noise. You got to get back. So once you do, tucks the head, starts running. Ball, wall, ball. You watch him check the ball. You watch him check for the wall. And now he's back on the ball. Elevate. Go get it, buddy. Let me tell you about my best friend. I'll be your buddy, Buddy Reed.
So Buddy Reed goes up over the padded part of the wall to make a terrific catch and take extra bases away from Abreu.
What an incredible effort.
So, an impressive first out. Here's Moncada.
And let's remember something. It's not like Buddy Reed has 500 games underneath his belt in this ballpark here. Okay, so being familiar with your surroundings, that's a 411-foot wall. Sometimes it's 390, maybe it's around 400. But just there's a lot at play here for Buddy Reed to go back and make that play with the comfort that he made that play. I mean, this is easy money for Buddy Reed. Get up. Go get it. Bring it on back. I got it. Let's go.
The pitch, 2-2. Of course, in Arizona, spring training parks, you have the big, giant green backdrop for the hitters. And the ball's got to go over the backdrop for a home run in spring training. But you can see he went up well over the padded area.
impressive.
So full count to Moncada, who lined a single in the second inning. And that missed somewhere, maybe off the plate, but not by much. So it's a one-out walk. So watch Weems' reaction after the Buddy Reed catch.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh.
So runner aboard, here's Eloy Jimenez. Jimenez and a line drive to Reed in center field in the second inning.
Tell you, Kai, as a pitcher, that's one of the most refreshing breaths you can take. Ball that's just been brought back over the wall. Nobody's on base. Nobody's scored.
It's just an out, right? It's just a regular old out.
That's it. Maybe a little loud, just an out.
Eloy Jimenez. He's 24 years old. He was a little banged up in that postseason series against the Athletics. Was not playing at 100%.
I think it might have been a hamstring issue.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Still had 14 home runs last year in 55 games, hit 296, so he had a pretty good year. On 1. For the Athletics, this is game number 14 of what is a 28-game exhibition schedule, so they are right at the halfway point. They got one more day off in Arizona before coming home to get ready for the regular season, which starts on April 1st.
Looking right at that halfway point we talked about the games being 9 innings now, and it just feels like everybody's starting to make that push towards opening day. A heightened sense of awareness around your work and what you're trying to get accomplished on the field.
Could be 2. Andrus first, and no, safe. One has beat it out. So the Andrus to Lowry double play combination could not quite turn the double play. Jimenez, for a very big guy, moving down the line pretty well, but the ball was not hit very hard either.
He can move. And really, Chad Huss and the staff there out in Arizona at Hogue have got this field looking plush. And that ball checked up just enough, and Elvis was able to get that force at second, but the athleticism and the slow roller allowed Eloy to make it to first safely.
Here's Zach Collins, who had a base hit in the second inning. A's had a night game last night. But I think you start to, the last 7 or 8 years, you start to see more night games in spring training, and I think the players and I think the manager, they like that. Get you a little bit more ready for the regular season, where most of your games are night games. The A's played, I believe, the Reds last night.
Anything you can do to get that clock going and get yourself closer and closer to what your schedule is going to be like, the body bounce back. So I know as a player, I appreciated that when there were night games, especially if I was pitching in a night game, because that's just another opportunity to get closer to my normal routine.
So all these things come into play, getting a team ready for spring training. It may not seem like a big deal, but day game after night game.
Matters.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Who does that impact? Probably impacts your everyday players, right? Are they in a spot where they can physically bounce back? And then also the bullpen. Maybe you've got guys who got work in the day before. Now that night game, day game turnaround, how do they respond physically?
If you look at last night's lineup, obviously Laureano was in there. Chad Pinder was in there. So not a lot of the regulars, but you mix in a few of the regulars. Probably at this point in the season not going to ask him to come back and play today. But when you get real close to the season start, in that last week, I know that's when guys would like to have night games, that last week.
Well, that's when guys want to go. They want to be on the field. They want to be on the field every day. Their engines are revved and they're ready to roll.
2-2 the count to Zach Collins. Frankie Montas, 3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts.
No walks.
So he's got to be happy with that.
You feel good about the ball coming out of the hand clean. Again, I haven't seen any of the velocities, but I got to believe that fastball is around 97 plus maybe, but with great angle. And those are just the little things that you're paying attention to. And remember, this is outing number 1 for Frankie. So to have the outing go as well as it did and be able to get the feedback from the baseball as well as the other team that he got back, that's a bonus as well. So all in all, a really good day for Frankie.
2-2. And that one is dropped into right field, and Collins has his second hit. 2 on, 2 out. Adam Engel will be the hitter.
Well, you mentioned no Grandal today, but that's going to give this young fella, Mr. Collins, ample opportunity to show what he can do against not only a frontline starter in Montas, but we're going to get some horses coming out of that bullpen for the A's as well, and he's handled the bat pretty well.
2 of the 3 hits for the White Sox belong to Zach Collins. White Sox had 2 on and 1 out in the second. They had 2 on and 2 out here in the fourth. Off the plate, 1-0. Is a little concerned for the Athletics with Mike Fiers, who's got a little back issue. Obviously, he's a guy who's going to be in the rotation, but now that is in jeopardy. Will he be ready by opening day? And it sounds like it's becoming a significant question mark whether he will indeed be ready. So hopefully we get Mike Fiers back healthy and get him ready to go. So Buddy Reed with a terrific catch. He's been a highlight reel this spring training, and it just continues. Nice play, Buddy.
Apprehension, question.
That Elvis Andrus Chris Davis trade, which is a very significant trade really for both teams, that happened on the 6th of February. So now you're a week away from starting spring training, and then that deal happened, and then things started to kick in. And then the Rosenthal signing, Romo, you re-sign Yusmeiro Petit, you sign Moreland, you get Kolarek in the trade. So all that stuff happened in a short period of time, and it really put the roster where it needed to be. And you see a lot of the bullpen names there. So really what it comes down to, Dallas, is you replaced Hendricks, Soria, and really McFarland with Rosenthal, Romo, and Kolarek. So now you can say, okay, are we better than we were last year? We don't know yet.
Right.
But you've done a pretty good job replacing guys that were important last year. And you replaced a really good shortstop, Marcus Semien, with a really good shortstop in Elvis Andrus. You get Moreland to DH. He takes Chris Davis's spot. So I don't see, even though the players you lost are good players, I don't see the addition subtraction being a negative anywhere. I think the A's came out in a positive with what they've done transaction-wise.
I would agree. For a lot of the reasons you just mentioned, understanding that. Look, and we can start with Marcus Semien, just because it wasn't only the production around Marcus that had him become a fan favorite. It was the blue-collar, working man approach to the game and the success that he had found applying that approach to the game that fans fell in love with. So when that type of guy leaves, not only is there a void created on the production side, but in the fan heart as well. And the Oakland A's are very lucky to have gotten a guy like Elvis Andrus, not only because of what he's capable of as an athlete, but who he is in a clubhouse and who he has been in the community in Texas for his entire career. And you talk to those folks from Texas, when that deal was done, they said, you guys have got a good one.
Yep. So as much as we will miss Marcus Semien, you needed to find a quality shortstop. Because you're too good of a team to not have a sure thing at shortstop.
Agreed.
So it looks like Lance Lynn is going to be done at 69 pitches, and he was very good. That strikeout of Moreland, just the last hitter that he's going to face, was his fourth. 3 walks and just 1 hit. So Lance Lynn, he's getting himself ready for what very well could be a big year for him in Chicago. So Marshall takes over his 4th appearance this spring. Pretty good reliever for the White Sox. 23 games last year and had a 2.38 ERA. So he's part of the bullpen for Chicago.
You just kind of think back to that wild card series between the A's and White Sox last year, wondering if